Hi, it's Ali here, salon director from the Head Gardener in Inverness. Talking about cancer is never easy, but unless we're open and honest about it, how can we learn from each other and most importantly, support each other? Personally, I love this podcast. Every so often there'll be a little nugget that will just smack you in the face and you just think, whoa, right, that resonates. I think Penny is an amazing storyteller. She's utterly honest and yes, sweary, but cancer makes you a bit sweary. I'm really proud to be the sponsor of Lump and I hope you get as much from it as I do. But don't forget to like it, rate it and share it. And over to Penny.
Chosen. There's a rough track that leads above our house and the others on the croft. It weaves up through scrubby gorse and rubble from the new build, takes you beside the burn, over a single remaining strand of a wire fence and into thick pine forest. As soon as you enter the trees, a moist, mushroomy smell hits you. There's a damp, ever-present dusk here. Light hardly filters through, even on a startling gold day like today. Turn left, and you follow a mossy, muddy trail in a gentle arc round the edge of the pines towards the more open birch and bracken of Badgerlands. But today is much too beautiful to go through the dark forest fringes. So I turn right, hop across the burn, full and fast from the recent autumn rains, and clamber up a stony, gorse-covered rise, emerging onto forestry tracks. From here, it's a zigzag up the damp red clay, up, up to the top of the hill. It's not pretty here. Scars of deforested land lie barren and shorn too short. But it's a means to an end, and I take my time, pausing to puzzle over curious petals of bright pink-orange fungi dotted through the gravel at the edge of the track. I make a mental note to look it up when I get home. The decision to climb up high came quite suddenly. I was watching my friend Chris's book launch. He's a wonderful writer whose work always makes me look at the world through freshly widened eyes. But the Wi-Fi kept glitching and throwing me out. Frustrated and itching to be outside where my senses could play, I threw a chunk of cheese, an apple and some tomatoes into a rucksack, along with some tea, extra clothes, and then grabbed a stick and decided to see how far I could get before the light and heat left the day. Impulsive but deliberate acts have become a feature of my new landscape. I seem to choose my way through every day in a way I don't think I ever have before. Each act is weighed and measured, given a value before I add it to my day, and I'm conscious that I do this hot and sticky act of climbing as a deliberate one too. It's chosen. I've been thinking a lot about choice. I have the sense I'm much more invested in the whole concept of choice than I was before I got cancer. I've always instinctively known that it's important, felt it held a particularly solid form in my life. But now it's almost like each day I seek it out. Today I choose to do this. This moment I choose to do that. Its inverse is important too. I'm choosing not to do that because it's a bit shit and I can't be arsed, so I don't. And I'm starting to wonder if this carefully balanced placing of each foot each day is connected back to my diagnosis and treatment. When we learned I had breast cancer, the choices rapidly became pretty stark. Do nothing and you die. Do something and statistically you're likely to remain. I remember the outrage swelling in my cancerous breast, making me nauseous. The very idea that unless I chose death, then I had no choice but to have a mastectomy. It still makes my jaw tighten. What was it my friend Susanna called it? Not mastectomy, but amputation. A word which captures the brutality of the situation more eloquently. When I think about it, I'm not even sure there's been another occasion in my entire adult life when I felt so disempowered, so choiceless. Even the choices I did have were rubbish. Every one a mass of compromise, disfigurement, displacement. I still cry at this. Even after all these months, I still feel trapped by that lack of choice. And I wonder that I can't spin it to feel differently. I chose to live here, didn't I? There's no one to blame either. No one you can focus your fury at. Like a fox in a snare, you can only snarl at the mechanics of the mess you're in. But snarl and gnash your teeth all you like. Cancer doesn't care. Did I think of the nothing course of action? The course of inaction? Yes. Yes, of course. I wanted to bolt, run. But as I've written before, you can't run away from yourself. You can't outrun your own cancer. And I could never have run from Bea and David. Never. Passing through the deer fence at the top of the first hill, I paused to look down at the loch. The byre must be directly below me, but tucked underneath and out of sight. To the south, I can see a thin slither of Loch Ashy and what must be a wink of Loch Duntelcheg. Above them, a wind farm and the Garble, a legendary local climb for cyclists. Tucked away at its foot, glassy Loch Far with its lilies. I can't see it, but my skin remembers it. There's a quality to the light at this time of year that touches on the surreal. The gold, amber, burnt ochre tones make me ache for something I can't quite place. Seeing this landscape I love, bathed in sunshine as it is now, makes me pulse with loss. There's a permanence about all these hills and lochs, coming up to a height so I can line up my own impermanence alongside them is the greatest leveller I know. I feel so very small. I almost consider turning back, wondering if I'm in too sharp a mood. But I press on, skirting the hill in search of a path that will give me a way to climb higher still. I've a yen to peer over the top to a briachan. As I walk, I play with each step in my mind, silently mouthing, I choose you, and you, and you. The thought comes to mind of something Bea said a few years back, 3 maybe. She said, you are the boss, you choose everything for me, you control me. At the time, I was deeply shocked, unnerved by the image of my holding all her strings. You tell me when to get up, when to go to bed, what to eat, you decide everything, she said. And she was right. I did. After that, I consciously started trying to relinquish my parental reins. I'd put food on the table and tell her to help herself instead of my plating it up. And I'd look for other ways to loosen my grip on her. But while it's a sign of her growing up, which makes her demand to make more and more decisions, there's no doubt there's a security in having others decide. I love being invited out for dinner because of the very fact of not having to choose what is going to be for tea. I adore relinquishing that control, which is odd when you set it against my response to my diagnosis, and makes me think that context must be everything. When we meet, my great friend Susanna usually has us timetabled to the nearest minute, and it makes me giggle. I instantly revert to being a child, allowing her to make decisions, because I find it as relaxing as a warm bath. I trust her to get me to the train or restaurant or whatever time she's calculated we have to be there. I trust her to get me to the train or restaurant at whatever time she's calculated we have to be there. I check my watch, swithering on whether to push on a little further or turn for home. I message David, giving him directions for where I've gone, suddenly conscious that I've climbed up this hill alone and without a soul knowing where I am. I figure I've got 20 minutes more, so I turn off the path and push up through the heather, grasping at tufts to pull me up a sharp rise till I come to rest by a stunted, wind-bruised pine standing on its own. We've seen better days, this pine and me, but here we are, still standing, in spite of what's flung at us, up on top of the hill, on this glorious day. I feel a tenderness towards it. The sun hovers just above the brow of the hill, spilling onto the bracken, setting it ablaze. Hunkering down to eat my cheese and apple, I look along Loch Ness to Loch End Beach, following the line of the river, then canal with my fingertip, narrowing my eyes to squint as the waters flow into the Moray Firth, and in the distance to where they wash the sands of Nairn, then Findhorn. Maybe, if I go back in my mind, take this same finger and retrace, revisit, and replay the decision-making processes connected to my cancer, I can retrospectively reposition them to feel less jarring and jagged. Remind myself that we have choice within a given situation, but we can't always set the scene. I have chosen to spend this beautiful day walking up this hill, but I didn't get to choose whether this day was sunny, any more than I got to choose whether my body got cancer. So perhaps being angry at cancer, stripping away my sense of choice, is as daft as being angry at the sky for turning grey. It just doesn't make sense. I like this thought. It feels like it's been sitting up here, waiting for me to climb up and find it. So I pick it up, wrap it carefully in my hand, and put it in my pocket while it's still warm. Then I turn and make the choice to head back down the hill and home. Lump is sponsored by Ali McCritchie and the fantastic team at the Head Gardener Hair Salon in Inverness. Without them, it simply wouldn't be possible. So a massive thanks to them for all their support. If you like Lump, make sure you tell the team when you're next in the salon and they'll give you a free gift. Coming up in the next episode. I'm surprised at cancer's ability to still catch me off guard, even after all these months of hanging out together. I felt more angry and upset about cancer today than I have for weeks, maybe months. The size of my capsize feels both directly in proportion and opposition to the beauty of the day, which is crisp, golden, and achingly lovely. Lump is written and presented by me, Penny Stewart, and produced by Adventurous Audio.